This is my 2014 V10 R8. Let's go for a ride.
You're in Amon's R8 right now. Why the R8?
A couple reasons. Honestly, I was looking at a car. It was this or the 992 or 991 at that time, 991.2 Porsche.
So you're looking at used though, right?
I was looking at used.
So sub $100,000 high performance car.
Exactly. So I've been looking for months and months, test drove probably 20, 30 cars. So finally, a friend of mine, he had this car, and we've been chatting about it for maybe 6 months to a year. And he's like, "Hey, you still serious about it?" Kind of went there, booked a ticket, flew down to LA, and I was like, "Yeah." And rest is history. Kind of made a deal on the spot, called the bank, bam, done.
So you had the car you wanted? Was white your first choice?
White with the black carbon fiber. It was my only choice. That's the only choice I wanted. I would have maybe compromised for like a Nardo gray, but that wasn't a color that was available then. But white with the black carbon fiber was my number one choice.
Did you test drive other cars besides this one?
I did. I'd driven probably close to 20 cars.
Okay.
Before I actually, I drove a 2000. I drove a V8 R8. I drove a V10 R8. Pretty much everything that Nilo had for a while. I mean, I was friends with the gentleman there, and so I drove 911s, Caymans, Boxers, M4s, M3s, M5s.
Corvette, right?
Corvette, yep, I drove the Corvette. Didn't drive the C8, I drove a C7 Corvette. The C8, I wasn't out then. What else? I did drive the GT. Honestly, hands down, my best favorite car besides the 911 was the Cayman.
Okay.
It's such an underappreciated car.
Fun. It's so approachable.
So nimble. It just drives. You just steer and it goes exactly where you want it. Handles curves like no one's business. It's such a smooth, underrated car. I'm not sure why.
Yeah, it definitely punches over its weight class. It really does. When you start getting in the corners, it's hard to. It's hard to say anything negative about it. It's such a capable car.
It's a capable car that has this reputation of being a poor man's Porsche when it's definitely not in any ways. It's a true Porsche. Exterior, I think this car has, this is a 2014, so it's aged really, really well. Interior, it is a 2014 interior, probably didn't age as well, but the exterior, I think to this day, it's a very beautiful car from the exterior. I don't think there's any issues with the car.
Yeah, it's aged, I think, very well. It's really just very high tech. It just looks high tech, and that's it's very, very German.
Definitely.
Very Teutonic.
big fans of the fenders. A lot of people actually paid up, upgraded to have a color match fender. The carbon fiber fenders were, for a point, they thought it was not going to age well,
yeah.
but as you noticed, you know, it's just, it has. I think that's one of the things that keeps itself still looking young in that sense for a 8-year-old car. On this, that's one of the reasons why I got a 14. I really did want a dual clutch. I didn't want the old the Lamborghini transmission that came out of that.
So you have what's called the R-tronic.
The S-tronic.
S-tronic. The R-tronic was the original.
The R-tronic was the one that is, you know,
it's effectively the Gallardo transmission.
Gallardo transmission. It's the same transmission that a lot of Ferraris still carry.
Yep.
Where it's gated. It's automated manual transmission, so the computer it's still a manual transmission, but the computer shifts for you, and it's very jerky. That's the V10. The first V10 I drove was that.
Yep.
Not as smooth as this. I mean, you don't hear any shifts, you don't feel any shifts on this version.
So you definitely, if you do get into a obviously an R8, either manual or S-tronic,
definitely
are the two transmissions. You really don't want the R-tronic.
No.
Because it's just a little jerky.
Very
and if
jerky.
you're spending this kind of money on a premium car, you don't want to be disappointed with your transmission.
I agree.
Because this, what's the V10? What is it redline at?
It redlines at 8,500. Especially second and third, it would be a huge jerk. You could just literally, just head, not in a good way, head moving back for some more of a jerking action in that sense.
So basically, this car would be a better option. And I was thinking about it yesterday. If you were in the market for something that's performance based and you like the idea of a mid-engine and more exotic looking car, this is a great option. The advantage to it is you can get the dual clutch transmission, but you're not paying the Huracan price for a dual clutch transmission.
That is true.
But you get the screaming 10-cylinder and a dual clutch transmission and a lower price point. So effectively, a used Gallardo is going to cost you almost the same as an R8 with a 10-cylinder. The R8 is going to be probably newer, and it's going to be, if you get the S-tronic, you're going to get the better transmission.
Yeah.
So there's no real reason to buy a Gallardo when you can get one of these.
No, Gallardo is probably around the same price. Like right in today's market, I'm thinking 100 something.
Yeah, give or take.
Give or take. Probably you're gonna look at a 2008 or 9 to get for that price.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you get almost a 5-6 year old car newer with much more advanced technology versus the Gallardo at in 2008. Change anything. That's the car is exactly the way I did it.
Okay.
My friend, he's the one that actually spec'd it out, and I think he did a pretty good job. He did carbon ceramic brake upgrades on it. Did the performance exhaust. I was thinking about changing the exhaust out, but it sounds nice the way it is, and especially with the sports exhaust. I was like, why bother?
Yeah, there's not much. You got everything you wanted from the factory.
Exactly.
So why would you need anything to change?
Very stiff.
Yeah, those were bumping quite a bit.
Feel every single nick, cranny.
And that's on comfort mode or whatever we're on right now. So it can actually get harder than that if you wanted to.
Oh yes.
Okay.
So it's a very, very stiff car. So if you want to have just a cruise where you're not like, you just want to be in super comfortable, it's not the car for you. It's definitely a car you're going to feel every road, every rock.
So not necessarily something you want for grand touring. It's something that definitely is an aggressive driving car.
I agree.
So it can't necessarily double up. Because some cars have enough adjustability to where you can drive it comfortably grand touring. This is probably not one of those.
No,
This is
definitely.
not a long trip, road trip car.
No,
Unless you want to be uncomfortable.
I did pick it up in LA and drive it
Yeah.
back. It wasn't too bad, but you know, you just picked it up, so
Yeah, I mean, everything's new. Yeah,
exactly. It's your first day
Yeah.
driving,
and it's your first R8. So I mean, you know.
so you don't know. But now, maybe now that I've had it for almost a year and a half, if I were to do that road trip, probably I'd be a little more annoyed. And
Yeah.
like, this is uncomfortable versus when I first day I picked it up, I just was super excited to drive it.
Yeah.
And I got to do a 400-mile road trip in it.
So how many miles does the car have right now?
Right now it has 41,000.
That's not bad at all.
I picked it up for 36.
And one thing I noticed about sitting in the interior of this car, I mean, I drove it pretty early on when you got it, but there's very little, and I have a really good microphone in this camera, but you don't hear anything rattling. And that's something I noticed with the Porsche as well, is that nothing rattles inside the interior. I guess I'm used to domestics and other cars that kind of have a little creaky this, creaky that. But this is quiet, nothing's rattling in the interior after 41,000 miles. And a stiff suspension. That means they actually did a pretty good job putting this car together.
They did. And
So that's always...
I don't know if you hear it right now, you can pick it up on the microphone, but when you're off, when the windows are up and you kill the sports exhaust and take it out of sports mode and just driving in regular mode, you barely hear the engine.
Yeah.
You don't hear,
Yeah.
and you know, sometimes I forget that what's sitting behind me.
Yeah.
When you're just cruising down the freeway at 70 miles an hour, you
Yeah.
forget how much
quiet.
power do you have in there.
Incredibly quiet. But that's, so, you know, it's got some livability to it. It's not completely unlivable.
Yeah.
So that's not too bad. So, how long do you think you're going to hold on to this?
I'm actually in the market for right now. For if someone's interested, let me know.
All right. R8 V10. So, as an ownership experience, what did you find out about the car that you didn't already know? What was something that surprised you, or maybe something you like, oh, it's got that, or oh, it's doing this weird thing, or anything of interest that popped up that you weren't aware of?
Honestly, the biggest thing I think was the attention that I didn't expect. It does receive a lot of attention compared to other cars that I've driven.
Well, you don't see very many. That's the thing, even with living in Sacramento, which is a great car culture, you go to a car meet, there's Lamborghinis, Ferraris, but you see very few R8s. So I saw one yesterday, because they were having the meet over in Folsom, a white one just like this one, I think it was a V8, but I've seen maybe 4 or 5 total, period. Like the Fountains meet, we had like 2 or 3.
There was a couple there, yeah.
But honestly, you just don't even see them on the road. I see Ferraris more often than I see R8s.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool, because it means it's probably kind of exclusive in terms of you don't see them very often.
And that's the reason why I was looking at it. I wanted a car that could, if I wanted to daily drive it, I could daily drive it, have the perks of a Lamborghini, but without the, without the maintenance or the issues that Lamborghinis have.
Yeah. If someone's in the market, let me know in the comments, and I can hook you up with Amon's number if you're interested in picking one up. What do you think about, if you're going to get rid of this car, what do you think about replacement?
There's a couple of things in my mind. I definitely think a Porsche 911, 992, S4S, that's definitely a top contender. I think that's been, and it's just a bulletproof car that's just really, really well built. I have to, besides that, I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. If I did go into non-combustion engine, I would say the Taycan is a great car also. Audi family. This is not my first Audi. I've had an S4 prior to this, and then I had an A4. Surprisingly, very, very well-built cars if you're talking about safety. On an S4, I was driving on the freeway, spun out, hit the wall probably close to, let's say 60, 70 miles an hour.
Wow.
I mean, totaled the car, but walked away without a bruise.
That's pretty good.
Second time, the A4 that I got to replace that, it's probably like 3 weeks old, 4 weeks old, got T-boned at an intersection. I was actually unrestrained. Thought I'm just going from here to here across the street. Somebody hit me at probably 60 miles an hour and spun around 4 times. All I did was punch myself, and that's the only thing that I did. Busted my lip.
So you're saying you need to get rid of this car before it gets wrecked?
That's very likely
Seems like
possibility
maybe
too.
Audi is not necessarily your brand. I don't know what's going on there.
I mean, it saved my life twice, which I thought sure wasn't supposed to survive the second one. But at the same time, yes, probably have a tendency of.
You have great luck, is what you're saying.
I do have great luck, and they protect me well. That's all I gotta say. They're well-built cars in that sense.